So before, my name is Blake Aldridge. I'm with the Upper Trinity Regional Water District here in Louisville. We provide drinking water and wastewater treatment services for 29 communities in Denton and Collin counties. And so today's water talk is about winterizing sprinklers and home and how to protect your plumbing for the holiday season. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And this is a look, a map of showing where our service area is. All the communities in the green shaded area are either customers or members of our district. And so we don't serve most of Louisville and we don't serve the city of Denton, but they are members on our board of directors. And but you can also see on this map the locations of our two water treatment plants, the Thomas E. Taylor Water Treatment Plant in Louisville at the southern end of Louisville Lake, which can treat up to 70 million gallons of water a day. Currently planning to expand that to 85 million gallons per day. And then our Tom Harpool Water Treatment Plant up north of the lake, which can treat up to 30 million gallons of water a day. And it is a membrane filtration plant, so it can expand much quicker than the Taylor plant, and probably in the next couple years it will be expanded up to 40 million gallons per day. And then those four red stars are locations for our water reclamation plants, which is where we treat wastewater for our area. Just wanted to give kind of a quick update on our drought conditions in the state, especially after the 8 inches of rainfall we received over last week. And so the map on the right, dated October 24th, you can see that there was a significant amount in central and north Texas under the red or even the maroon color drought conditions, which are the worst case conditions. And so actually southern Denton County was in the exceptional drought conditions at that time. But thanks to, like I said, 8 inches of rainfall, the map on the right shows the great improvement that we made in that time. And so, we still have quite a bit to go to catch up to our rainfall deficit for the year. But for example, Louisville Lake went from 77% full to 90% full in 1 week. And so that's a great thing that hopefully we get more rainfall and can fill up the lake in preparation for next summer. And today we're going to be talking about our fall and winter landscape care, the first part of the presentation. The second part will talk more about indoor water usage and protecting your plumbing. But we're going to be talking about winterizing your sprinklers and home, and then landscape care over the fall and winter. So we do have a good winter weatherization webpage available on our website, and I did drop the link to that in the chat box, so you can, if you forget something I mention or if I don't mention everything, you can go to this website and find those tips, and there's even videos on how to do some of these things, particularly with protecting your above ground backflows. So the key thing we want to get across is to turn our sprinklers off, starting pretty much now until the end of March or even April, depending on what kind of rainfall we get. Because right now our plants are going into their dormancy period, especially our warm season turf grasses and other warm season shrubs and trees. We're probably going to start noticing trees dropping their leaves and things like that. The very cool weather we had last week coupled with the reduction in the sunlight, is a trigger for these plants to basically shut down for the winter, to hibernate, as like a bear. But because they're going into dormancy, they do not need much, if any, supplemental watering at this time. Unless we have a long stretch of dry, long dry stretch, maybe some of our more sensitive plants might need some hand watering, but there's no need to run the full sprinklers at this time. Even though the last couple days it's been 85 degrees, like I said, it's the plants go more off the amount of sunlight they're receiving as a trigger than the temperature itself. Plus, we're expected to get at least half an inch of rain tomorrow. So now would be a good time just to go turn those sprinklers off to the off position and do that. Plus, we don't want to have excess water that could lead to some diseases like fungal problems and things like that, like root rot and some other diseases like that that would occur in more cool and wet soils and temperatures. So we want to avoid those. But also with the chance for freezing temperatures over the winter, we want to make sure those sprinklers are off so that we don't have an accidental watering, which could lead to icy sidewalks and the potential for, if someone gets hurt, walking in front of your house, slipping on ice, there's a possibility for being liable for their injuries. So we want to just avoid that altogether. But also, if you didn't know, lots of cities and utilities use the winter months to set your specific sewer rate for the next year. It's called sewer averaging or winter averaging. And the way that works is they base your winter water usage as basically what you would be using indoors, which would all then be going down the drain or being flushed down the toilet. And so they assume that your winter water usage is what would be going back into the water or going into the wastewater system. And so if you have extra water usage from running your sprinklers, then your sewer rate that next year is going to be higher. So and you should have a notice from your utility on when those dates are. It's typically November, December to March. And so that kind of fits with the timeline that I mentioned to just go ahead and keep your sprinklers off for those winter months. So looking at winterizing our sprinkler system, for most of us, since most of the sprinkler components are below ground, and the ground acts as a great buffer against cold temperatures. So rarely will we see, freezing temperatures in the ground that could lead to problems like, frozen pipes, things like that. There's usually not a need to blow out your sprinklers or anything like that. But, if you do just want to be comfortable and not worry about it, you could definitely have a licensed irrigator do that for you, and winterize your whole system while they're at it. But definitely the above ground irrigation parts, like your backflow preventers or things like that might be above ground, those definitely need to be insulated. And then for our outside or exterior faucets on our house, putting one of these faucet covers, as you see in the photo here, is very easy, cheap way. These are a couple bucks at your local hardware store, and they're easy to put on, and a good way to go ahead and disconnect your hose and store it in the garage for the winter. so that it doesn't break down quicker due to the cold weather. And this is an example of one of those backflow preventers you might have above ground. And so we would recommend having a licensed irrigator come, and what they'll do is turn the valves off to this and drain the water out, and then probably put some type of cover over this to insulate it, to protect that from breaking, because those are not cheap. And so we want to be sure. But for a lot of us, our backflow preventers are going to be in the ground, close to our water meter. And so those don't necessarily need any additional protection. Moving on to landscape care, adding mulch, about 2 to 4 inches of mulch in our flower bed areas, around trees, things like that, is a great way to add a little thermal protection, basically act as sort of a blanket for the soil, to help keep in some extra heat, and will help definitely with preventing soil erosion, things like that around those. Plus, it just looks nice. But we don't recommend using rubber, because that's just adding different chemicals and things like that don't need to be on our soil in our landscapes. And so hardwood or cedar mulches are great, because they also act as a nutrient source as they break down over time. And so this is something we recommend having all year round, is 2 to 4 inches of mulch, particularly in your flower bed and garden areas. As I mentioned earlier, the leaves are about to start changing soon, we hope. And I know a lot of folks tend to rake all those up and put them in a trash bag and have them taken away by the waste disposal professionals. But we could also leave the leaves on the lawn, because they're free nutrients. And so, if you have a situation like this in the photo where you can't see the ground, then yes, definitely getting rid of a portion of those would be a good idea. But you could also mow over leaves to chop them into smaller pieces, and so they degrade quicker and get assimilated into the soil faster. Or you can rake them up, and if you have a compost bin, add them to the compost. But we definitely ask and encourage you not to blow the leaves onto the street, where they could end up in the storm drain, as you can see in this photo, where there's so many leaves in the storm drain, it's almost filled it up, and this is going to cause local flooding issues on this street. And so this, this is something that can be avoided easily, and should be, because this is going to have to go in and probably be cleaned out by the city, and just not a good situation. Next, we're going to talk about saving water indoors and protecting your plumbing during the holiday season, which is upon us, which is crazy. It's already here. Let's first talk about generally how water is used in your home. And you can see flushing the toilet is almost a quarter of your total water usage inside your house, followed by showering, faucet use, washing machine. And then if you look at on the bottom, 14% goes to leaks. That's estimated. But, and that photo is kind of misleading, because it's not usually leaks in the pipes under your house. It could be your toilet or a faucet or a shower head, something like that that's leaking, that is going to cause that number to go up. So let's start with toilets. And these are all, as you have guests over during the holidays and are staying with you, it's a good thing to keep in mind all these different ways to save water indoors and to maybe help your guests remember these tips as well. So November 19th is World Toilet Day. And so that's a great day that we celebrate toilets and how wonderful they are, but also encourage everyone to use WaterSense labeled toilets that use less water. As you can see there, they use 1.28 gallons per flush, whereas older models might use 3 or even up to 5 gallons per flush. But also toilets are notorious for leaking. And so this is something that we encourage folks to check regularly, at least a couple times a year maybe. Or if you have a suspicion, if you hear water running from the bathroom when no one's in there, then it might be a good chance to check that. And what you would do is put some food dye or, a dye tablet, something like that, in the water in the tank on the, the back part that's sitting up against the wall to change that color. And then don't use the toilet for 15 minutes and then come back. And if the water in the bowl has changed colors, then that shows you probably have a slow leak, maybe. And it's the biggest culprit for those types of leaks are the flappers that have just worn out. They're not creating that seal like they should. And that's also a very easy and cheap repair that'll pay for itself in, quickly. Dishwashers, we've talked about the holiday season's upon us, so we're going to be eating lots of good food. And so these are going to be used a lot, especially if you have guests and family over. And we do want to mention that high efficiency dishwashers can use 30% less water than your more standard models. And that's when we're thinking about how much these dishwashers use, it could be as low as 3 to 5 gallons. And so and a lot of them are powerful enough and good enough to where you don't have to, scrape the stuck on food particles off. You can leave those in there. We do recommend scraping, big food scraps and things like that directly into the trash and not down the sink. And skipping that pre-rinse for all those dishes, all those plates, can save an estimated 20 gallons of water. So just scraping the food off into the trash and then putting it directly in the dishwasher, you're going to save a lot of water, especially if you run full loads of dishes in there. Shower heads. So the EPA estimates that that families could save 2,700 gallons of water per year by using WaterSense labeled shower heads. So in Texas, our standard is 2.5 gallons per minute from the shower heads. That they have to meet that in order to be sold in Texas. But the WaterSense labeled shower heads put out 2 gallons per minute. So, you save half a gallon, but, you think about it, 2 gallons per minute, however many minutes you spend in there, you can use water pretty quickly. So that's why we recommend limiting showers to 5 minutes, which I know is much easier for those of us with no hair like me. But as I always tell people, it's a goal to attain to. And so particularly if you have teenagers, it'd be definitely good to make sure that they limit their shower time. And if you need a shower timer, we have some. So they just stick on and they're a 5-minute timer. Feel free to put that in the chat that you would like one. Clothes washers. Oh, and I forgot to mention that if you do have a question at any point, to go ahead and put in that chat box, and we'll get to it at the end as well. Clothes washers are high efficiency brands or models, can save 50% or use 50% less water than your typical standard models. And so this is a great way, and we're talking about these high efficiency ones use 20 to 25 gallons per load. So our older style or the standard models use up to 50 gallons per load. And so that's a significant savings right there. But these high efficiency ones not only save water, they save energy too, because they have these special features that help them save energy. Run full loads only, but there's some that I have seen newer models that have a sensor so that they only put in the amount of water that's needed. So that's really good. But we also recommend running on cool or cold water. We've seen a lot of these detergent companies saying that themselves, that you don't need to run on hot water and to make the clothes clean. Just run on the cool and the cold, and you'll save even more on the heating of that water. We still do at our house. We still do towels and sheets on hot water because those tend to be a little nastier. Faucets, another big water use, especially during the holiday season with all the cooking and things like that we're doing. The WaterSense labeled faucets will use or put out a gallon and a half per minute. So it's important. I think this is probably one of the easiest ways just to turn it off when you're not using it. It's something when we have kids visit here that they always tell me, and I say, what are some easy ways you can save water at home? And they say, turn off the faucet while you're brushing your teeth, but also while gentlemen, while you're shaving, turn that faucet off as well. And then if you have the dripping coming from that leaky faucet or aerator, just go ahead and replace it. It's easy. Now we're going to talk about protecting our plumbing. So fats, oils, and grease. This is a big issue this time of year with all the turkey, all the Thanksgiving fixings and things like that we love to eat, but we want to make sure that we defend our drains. This has been a messaging campaign that's been going on for a few years now from a lot of the cities in the DFW area. So it is very important not to pour fats, oils, grease, flour, food scraps, meat bits, really any food related items down the sink, because especially with these fats, oils, and grease, they can solidify in your pipes, and over time as that builds up, then you have backups and going to have to do some costly repairs to get either new pipes or have those cleaned out. And so we want to make sure to scrape, like I said before, scrape food scraps and things like that into the trash. And with, as you can see in this photo, you can just basically use a paper towel and wipe that off, scrape it into the trash. If you have a lot of cooking oil or grease, then let it cool for a little bit and then pour that into a separate container with a closed lid before tossing in the trash. But there are some cities in the area that will actually accept grease and used cooking oil for recycling. And they will actually they'll collect that, and then it will be reused as biodiesel. So, a great way to help cut down on, um, landfill space and be able to reuse that grease and oil. Another huge thing that especially our wastewater operators are constantly battling are flushable wipes. This is something really the whole industry has been battling against these wipe manufacturers to stop calling them flushable wipes, because yes, they're flushable, but once they get into the sewer system, they don't break down like toilet paper does, where the toilet paper will actually dissolve in the water quickly. These do not, and that's been tested and shown to be the case. And you can see one of our wastewater operators there pulling a wad of flushable wipes out of one of the collection pipes at one of our water reclamation plants. And so, this dealing with these takes a lot of extra time and effort from our operators, which they're having to manage a lot of other things around the plant. And so this takes away valuable time and costs a lot. And you can see the photo on the left. This is at one of our lift stations in the area, and our guys are out there in the middle of the night replacing this part of this lift station that is used to transport the wastewater and sewage to our plant. But as you can see in that yellow circle, it's clogged up and been damaged by wipes. And so, they're again costly repairs that and paying these guys for overtime, things like that, that the costs add up and it all comes back on us who have to pay for those, pay for that service. And so you can see the photo on the right. This is at one of our water reclamation plants where we do have some filtering capability or some screening capability to separate these wipes and other things out. We've even been seeing, those paper face masks. Just throw these items in the trash to protect the sewer system, but also it could lead to, like the fats, oils, and grease, could lead to clogs and backups in your own home. And so with that, that is all that I had.